Hello, everyone. We're just going to wait for everyone to join, and we'll begin in a few minutes. Thank you so much for being on this webinar. Appreciate that. All right. I think people will continue joining, but as it's 1 p.m., let's get started. So first of all, thank you everyone for joining me on this webinar workshop. Before I get started, I wanted to make the purpose of why we're doing this very clear, and it has a lot to do with the journey that I've had personally over the last 3-4 years while we've been building Evallo, and simultaneously the kind of interactions that I've had with a lot of the folks from the communities that I've been a part of, like the National Test Prep Association, the TTA, and the TPAPT, and so on. So I've been interacting with a lot of folks over the last few years, and a few common, I would say, patterns that I recognized around all of the different models that I saw, be it a private tutor that I interacted with, or be it a large business, large enterprise, that I had the opportunity to talk to. The kind of problem statements that they threw at me when I asked them, what are the most important pain points that you face on a daily basis as an educator, as a tutor. A lot of those patterns overlapped, even though the sizes and the models varied differently. And it sort of perplexed me a lot because initially I couldn't understand why that's the case. And then as I dove deeper into this, I realized a few things, especially that being in this space, being a tutor, and honestly, any service provider in the education space can get extremely tricky because your customer is actually a parent in most cases. And the person that you're providing a service to is a teenager, again, in most cases, or a child, or a student who isn't yet ready to take decisions for themselves. So the operations can get extremely tricky. And that was kind of how I, started Evallo as well. And that was also something that led me to a lot of insights around how different tutoring models can get, while at the same time, addressing the same problems that can exist across all of these different models, and why technology, if used correctly, can be of massive help, especially in such an unorganized sector. So that's sort of the purpose of this webinar. The goal that I have with this, and I'll talk about that in more detail, as we go to our further slides. But the primary goal I have for everyone who's joining here, because we have a very, I would say, varied audience. We have people who are, just starting out as freelancers. In fact, some of them are, students, and then we have established tutoring business owners who have been around for more than 30 years. So we have a very vast and very varied audience for this webinar. And for that reason, I wanted to make sure that my presentation here actually covers cases that are useful for everyone. And everyone should leave this webinar thinking that I think I have certain questions that I can ask myself for improving what I have already in my setup, right? And I can either get started, or I can build my processes a bit more efficiently, or I can improve my team structure, and so on, right? So everyone should walk away with certain insights and certain goals that are relevant to their existing setup. Now, before we get started, why am I even qualified to talk about this? So a bit about myself. I've been working for more than 8 years as a tutor. I specialize in SAT and ACT, but I also tutor math and physics. In the past, I've also tutored for chemistry and English. I've worked with over 700 families professionally for both group classes as well as for one-on-one tutoring. A few years ago, I founded 7 Square Learning, where we were providing SAT and ACT tutoring services to families primarily based in the Maryland and Washington, D.C. region, exclusively online. And apart from 7 Square Learning, I've also built 2 other edtech startups. One was called Sati Global Education Network, which was around student exchange programs internationally. So we had built a platform for schools to conduct exchange programs directly via that. And then there's, of course, Evallo. Over the last 4 years, approximately, I've studied more than 300 business models and all of those are around tutoring or in the edtech space. And I think that sort of is the reason, why I think I'm qualified for this webinar. And I think a lot of that experience is what I'm going to be talking about, today. So let's ask this question, right? Why do we even need a tutoring tech stack? Why can't we just use a bunch of different tools put together and just keep things as they are, right? Just run them the way they come in, and the way things just sort of set themselves. Why do I have to plan this out? Why do I have to be so mindful of this? Well, one of the big reasons is if you're a small business, or if you're private tutor who's just starting out and you're thinking that this is going to be my career for the long run, then the initial baby steps are really important, because what you do right now, either as an SMB or as a private tutor, those practices are going to become standardized as you start to scale. Be it just building the habit of asking parents for referrals, or be it just sending out reminders to your students, or collecting payments on time. Whatever it might be, as long as it's to do with your operations, the habits that you're setting out right now will scale up into a model that you feel comfortable with. Your policies around the business as you grow will be very directly affected by what you decide today, right? So having a structured system early on is extremely important. But if you're already running a business that has been around for a long time, but you're still sort of struggling with your daily operations, maybe you're still using spreadsheets to collect user data. Maybe you're still generating invoices manually via. I've actually run into businesses that have been around for a while, but they still use Microsoft Word to create invoices one by one and then send those out to families, or copy the payment link from whatever payment integration they're using and then email those to their families manually. So I've seen those models as well for established businesses, and that eats up a lot of the hours. And they also actually have to hire administrative staff who could handle all of that separately. So the goal here is to build something that can scale in the long run. Or if you've already scaled to a point, then what are the things that you can optimize as quickly as possible so that you're saving hours and money. So we want to reduce repetitive admin work. We want to create a smoother experience for families. And we want to definitely build operations that grow without becoming chaotic. The way we're going to structure this webinar is here I would have the slides available for reference. And then as we're talking about certain topics, I'm going to be using Evallo for giving live examples of how certain setups can be made. I'm not going to be directly recommending any products apart from Evallo, of course. But I do have certain personal preferences that I'll talk about at the very end. And also, if you reach out to me personally after this webinar, I would be happy to share my own setup, and I'd be happy to share feedback that I've received about other platforms as well. But for this particular webinar, I'm not gonna, or at least I'm gonna try to refrain from recommending specific products. Instead, my focus is gonna be to initiate questions that you should be asking when you are choosing the right product for your own model. Our focus is going to be in 3 business sizes: freelancers or private tutors, so individuals, then small to mid-sized businesses, and the third is enterprise businesses. So the structure is going to follow around these 3 business sizes. As a quick reminder for anyone who is joining this webinar, we do have a workshop certificate that is available. So in case you want to add that certificate to your profile, to your resume, or in general you want to showcase that on your LinkedIn profile, just reach out to us after this webinar, and we would be happy to share a certificate curated for you. We are also going to be talking about how you can use Evallo for 1 year absolutely at no cost. We are actually running an Evallo for Startups program right now, and we're going to be sharing the details about that at the end of the webinar. And we're also going to be discussing sort of a summary of everything that we discussed today at the end, which is going to be covering all the practical takeaways. Now, before we begin with the actual real stuff, I want to talk about the user journey that a parent or a student normally follows when they're interacting with a tutoring business. And I've tried to summarize that within 6 stages of a lead capture. The first stage usually is the lead discovering your services, your profile, either through LinkedIn or through a website where you have enrolled yourself, or through your own website, the company website, or maybe via referral, which is actually the most popular way to get new students. But once the lead has discovered that you exist and they want to work with you, you need to have a system to get them enrolled. So the inquiry to enrollment step is usually the first stage for any lead that's coming in. Then the next step is to start scheduling sessions with them, be it online or in person, or at a public space, or maybe at their home. And you want to make sure that you're coordinating with your team in case you have a big team, or in case you're one-on-one, then that will be applicable to you. But you want to make sure that your lead is in and you're able to coordinate with the right stakeholders about that lead, informing them about whatever information you need to transfer to that person. In case you are a business that actually charges parents and students upfront for a package, then in that case, the billing and experience stage actually comes earlier for you. But for those who are charging students either after the session is completed or at a particular frequency, like at the end of the month, then for you, this is going to be coming after the session delivery and after prep work and tracking. So session delivery is actual session, the actual meeting with a particular student. That's usually the stage 3. And then the homework that you're assigning, the curriculum that you're setting up for the student, all of that becomes part of the stage 4. Then you charging families, and then finally retention and growth, because once you're done meeting with the students and once you're done providing that service, you would want to make sure that those families are in touch with you, those families are bringing you more referrals, and that those families are sort of your hero families, right? You want them to talk about you, and you want them to talk about how good your tutors have been. So now let's dive deeper into all of these stages, right? So the way I've structured this presentation, and I'm going to be sharing the link to this page that I'm on right now. The way I structured this is of course very cluttered, right? There's a lot of text here, so I don't expect to go through each one of these categories. But once I share this link after this webinar, you would be able to get to this page yourself. And as you hover over these items, you'd actually see certain questions that I've added here. Now, the purpose for these slides, and you will see that this is applicable to all the different stages that I have that we just discussed for all the 6 stages. The purpose of these slides is for any tutor in all the different stages, like the individual or the freelancer state, or the SMB or growing team stage, or if you're running an enterprise. Depending upon the stage that you're in, there are certain questions that you would want to ask yourself for the products that you're choosing. And those questions are actually going to be the questions that can lead you to building the right technical stack that's going to help you build a more efficient operations process. that's suitable to your preferences and your policies, right? So as you hover over these items, you would realize that these are the questions that I should be considering. So for example, if I'm an individual, have I figured out where the lead is going to come in? What are the things that I should be asking myself if I'm building a lead form? Or do I have a simple CRM where I can store all of my student parent data, or am I just using a spreadsheet? Right? Do I have pricing clarity? Right? Am I flexible with the families? Can I just charge random prices, or should I set my rate? Right? So there are certain questions that you would want to ask yourself, and those are the things that I've highlighted here in these buckets. Similarly, if you're in this stage of the customer, the inquiry to enrollment stage, as an SMB, you want to ask certain other questions, because the assumption here is that you would have already gone past the stage. You would have already set up a few of these items. If you haven't, then these are still applicable to you as an SMB. But if you have, then certain other questions are applicable to you. For example, now that the leads are coming in on a regular basis, do you have a lead pipeline? Do you have a way to track those leads? Do you have a way for following up with those leads so that you can get more referrals? Right? Do you have intake templates so that when families are coming in, you have set templates that you are sending out for welcoming them, right? Either for sending invoices or for sharing about your policies and so on, right? Do you have an onboarding checklist? So all of these can be handled either manually, which is not recommended, or these can be handled via the right piece of technology, right? The right products that you can integrate within your setup. Then if you're an enterprise, if you're running a large business, right, and you have multiple tutors in your team, then maybe you have already gone past these stages and you've already said some of these things, but now you have other problems to address, like data migration. This is one of the problems that I've seen as the most common. We, in fact, had a business come in to use Evallo, and they were previously using Salesforce, and they wanted to migrate their entire data to Evallo. And the biggest problem for them was that their data on Salesforce was so unorganized and so cluttered, because they had added a lot of custom fields in their user profiles, that when they were trying to switch to any platform, not just Evallo, they were trying out 12 other platforms to switch over to, and they couldn't land on one because and they were sort of bounded to Salesforce, mainly because the data integration was so cluttered that it just kept them really tight, and it kept them stuck to that platform, even though they didn't really like their system very much. So data migration becomes a really big challenge for enterprise customers, as they're switching platforms, or as they're integrating multiple platforms. Source tracking becomes big, because if you're having thousands of students coming in every month, then you want to make sure that you understand where those leads are coming from. For an SMB or for an individual, that metric might not be as important, but source tracking becomes a lot more important if you're an enterprise, right? So again, depending upon your team size, different metrics would become more important. Now, how does Evallo help with this particular stage of of a customer journey? Well, with Evallo, we actually offer a free CRM for any user, any business that's signing up with us, and we allow unlimited students and parent accounts. So you don't have to worry about scaling your system. As long as you're using Evallo, you can add as many students and parents as you want. And we also allow for data migration. We have import and export functionality. We have bulk edits. We have profile portals for every single user that you're seeing here. For example, right now I'm showing you the admin portal. I'm using the Harry Potter terminology, by the way, if you guys can see it. This is Albus, who is the primary admin of this particular organization. And then this right here is a student account that you can see. So every user gets their own portal access, and every user gets a nice little space where they can manage all of their tasks. So it's scalable that way. And we also allow for lead forms. So in case you're someone who's looking to just generate new leads, you can create a new form and just start capturing those leads. In case you're a large enterprise, we have proposals that you can send out to families, which the families can either accept or reject, and that way you can share your terms and conditions before you start off with a family. In case you're an SMB who is looking to map users with each other, like for example here, if I search for Harry, we'll see that Harry is mapped to 3 different tutors on the platform. So if you have multiple tutors working with a particular student, maybe one for subject tutoring, one for test prep, and so on, then the mapper actually helps you out. So the setup on Evallo is is designed in such a way that it should be useful for either an individual who's just looking for a simple CRM and just looking to gather the leads, or whether it's an enterprise who's looking to capture the lead source, make sure that they have lead statuses set up, and is looking for portal access for every single user that signs up on the platform. So that's how Evallo integrates with this particular stage of the customer journey. Next, once the customer is in and now they want to get started, well, you want to schedule sessions with them. And the sessions can happen either online. So for that purpose, you would need a platform where you're able to conduct those meetings. You would probably need platforms where you're able to host your material, host your content, and a shared space where you can share files and important notes with the students. At the same time, if you're also hosting students one-on-one or in group in person, then you would need a setup where you're meeting with the students, but at the same time, you're able to keep track while you're in the meeting with the students. So certain devices or certain platforms that can help you with those in-person meetings after you've met with the student would be really important. Sometimes some businesses have a policy where they are extremely centralized and they want the administrators to control everything when it comes to scheduling. So for those types of businesses, you would want to make sure that you have a system where you're able to find a tutor and a student and match their availabilities with each other. Because if you're going to have everything on a piece of paper that, I think Adam is available at 3 p.m. and I think John is also available at 3 p.m. Let me see if they can work together. If that's your system, then you're likely going to take a lot more time than really required to match a student with the right tutor. Maybe the family has certain restrictions. Maybe they just don't have the right budget for an expert tutor, but you want to connect them with a junior tutor. Right? So you have those filters that you're setting up. Right? So for small businesses, the ability to map a tutor with a student very quickly so that you're able to get the right tutor with the right family becomes really important. You want to have a platform that could actually do that. You want to make sure that you have a system where students are able to, see their notes after what's happened in the session, and they're able to see their calendar. That this is where I'm going to be meeting with my tutor. Certain basic requirements that even an individual would really appreciate would include reminders, booking links in case the students just want to block your calendar immediately. They should be able to see your available slots. You should be able to set recurring events on the calendar so that you don't have to schedule them one after the other. And in case you're having students from different parts of the country or different parts of the world, then you definitely want to make sure that you have the time zone set up in whatever platform you're choosing for your staff. This became a really big problem, by the way, for me when I was building 7 Square Learning, because the business model that was going ahead with 7 Square Learning was I would hire tutors from different parts of the world, and I would specifically target students who are coming in from the United States. So the US had 4 different time zones, and the tutors that I was hiring had at least 12 different time zones. And before I had Evallo, I was actually building something internally, and time zones were one of the biggest challenges that I had to address, because otherwise, the meeting conflicts just kept on coming again and again. In case you're an enterprise, then certain other things become a lot more important. For example, maybe you have multiple branches, maybe you have multiple franchisees, and now you have certain location rules. Maybe you have multiple people handling the different parts of the lead. So you need to have role permissions. What do we allow our tutors to do? What do we allow our students to do? Can the tutors schedule sessions by themselves, or do they need an approval from the administrator? Do we have calendar integration so that we can actually see their calendar, not just on the platform that we're using, but also on the calendar that they're used to already? Right? So certain things become a lot more important for an enterprise than it is for an individual or SMB. And again, accordingly, once I share this presentation with you after the webinar, you can just dive deeper into these questions that you should be considering, when you are building your own tech stack. Now, for this particular stage of the customer journey, how does Evallo help? Right? So Evallo offers you a calendar and an invoicing system. For scheduling and calendar purposes, we have multiple event types. So here, as you can see, Albus is scheduled for meetings with Harry and Ron and some of the other students. We also have group sessions. We have individual one-on-one sessions. And you can set recurring rules here. You can set up your frequency, set an end date. You can add reminders to the meeting. You can select the services and the topics that come within it. In case you want to record some tags before your meeting with the student, you can just quickly select those tags. And then those tags would be visible to the tutor that is meeting with the student at this particular time. In case you're an enterprise and you have multiple locations, or maybe you are just a private tutor who's meeting with students at their home and you have multiple locations that you've added to the platform. So in that case, you can just select multiple addresses right here. Or in case you're integrating an online platform such as Google Meet or Zoom, you can just quickly select these options for generating meeting links. For larger businesses that have more than 10 or 15 tutors, one part becomes really important, which is mapping the tutor's availability with a student availability. For that, we have the planner tool, where you can just, let's say you're on a call with a parent, and the parent's like, hey, do you have someone available at 3 p.m. to meet with John on Mondays and Fridays, because John has athletics on the other days? And you're like, you know what, just give me 1 second, let me check. Mondays and Wednesdays, 3 p.m. Let's see who's available at that time. So I'm just going to select that time right here. Find tutors. There you go. I see that Severus is available only 25% of the times, but Albus is available 100% of the time. So I can go ahead and schedule the call, schedule the meetings with Albus. And maybe I want to see this for the entire month of May as well as June. So I can, select all of those dates. And for that entire date range, I can actually see the results. This result will actually take into account the calendar that's already there for that user, but also the integrations that they have with Google or Zoom. It would also look at their available hours that they've added on the platform, and it will also take a look at the holidays and the time offs that they've added in case they're on vacation. So for example, Snape here has added a lot of vacation hours, right, that he's unavailable. So that all of that is taken into account when you're using the planner. So yeah, that's how Evallo can help the businesses at different stages. We also have multiple meeting types available, be it consultation calls or internal meetings. Office work is really useful for enterprise customers who want to record employee hours that are going in other activities, such as graphic designing or content writing and so on. So you can just ask your staff to add their office work here on the calendar. And we also, of course, provide the booking link where you can just quickly share this link with your student, and they would be able to just select a duration, the time that they want to meet with you. And by the way, this is useful for the parents and other tutors as well, in case they want to block your calendar, and then add their details and then just schedule the meeting right there. So yeah, pretty useful for this particular stage of the lead as well. Moving on, now the student is ready to get started. They have the schedule with them as well, and now they're meeting with the tutors on a regular basis. So what about the actual sessions? What are the key considerations that you should have for your product that you're choosing? And again, I'm not saying that Evallo is the product that you should go ahead with. For a lot of the businesses, some other products might be a better fit than Evallo. It really depends upon a few factors, such as the primary pain points that you currently have. Maybe you have already figured out some of these things. So maybe your calendar or maybe your lead generation is not really that important. So in that case, maybe Evallo is not the right fit for you. But the considerations here is something that you should definitely keep in mind when you're choosing the product. But maybe your current pain point is something to do with session delivery, right? So in that case, what are the things that you want to keep in mind? Well, first of all, if I'm having a session with a student, I want to make sure that the student feels comfortable about the work that we're doing on a daily basis. I want the family to feel comfortable about the progress that's happening. Because a lot of times, if you're not in touch with the parent, after 5 weeks, you might receive an email saying that, hey, you know what, I haven't heard from you in a while. What's going on? How's John doing? How's Jake doing? How's Hannah doing? And so on, right? You want to make sure that families have a very transparent way of looking at the progress that's happening over the period of time that you're working with their kids. And at the same time, it's also helpful for the students because if they have one place that they can go to keep track of all of their work, then that would really help with practice outside of the tutoring hours. So one thing that I really value a lot are session notes. This is applicable no matter what size your team is. For any tutor who is recording notes after the session, and they're sharing those notes with the families, with the student, this can be a lifesaver for you to keep track of everything. You also want to make sure that your attendance is secure in one place. You want to make sure that you're having some sort of a homework log. That is the student doing the homework, or are they missing out on the homework? So that you can give timely warnings to those students who are not able to keep up with that work. For larger teams, certain other things become more important, such as, do I want the administrators to be able to view the work that the tutor is doing? Do I want to share the feedback that the tutors are receiving after every session? Can I filter out all the sessions that one of the tutors is having, so that I can see how many sessions were canceled, how many sessions were no-shows and rescheduled, and so on. So I can keep a check on the accountability. I can keep a check on the quality of the service that we are providing, right? And then as you grow even bigger, certain things become even more important, such as the analytics, right? Are you able to see how many hours and how much revenue is being generated through certain sessions? How many times did we go over a particular session or under a particular session? Are the tutors holding themselves accountable over a large team? And do we have a system to consistently provide them with the professional feedback that they require? Right? Do we have audit trails in case something wrong happens, and we are in a conflict with either a family or with another tutor? Do we have the audit trails for that? Because again, all of those bits become a lot more important the larger you are as a team. Right. So again, as you go through these slides, you can look at each of these points one by one, and you can also look at the questions that you should be asking yourself when you're choosing the product for this particular stage of the customer journey. Now, coming back to Evallo, how does Evallo help with this part of the journey, the session delivery? Well, we've already taken a look at the calendar. So there's not much I would share about this one, but there's one screen that I would like to share, which is the calendar analytics, where you would be able to keep a track of all the hours that are happening over a period of time. So if I select lifetime here, for example, I can see that for this particular account, 128 hours were scheduled, out of which 27.25 hours are completed, 3.5 hours canceled. This is the revenue that was generated. This is the revenue that is projected for all of those scheduled sessions. This is how much revenue was leaked. And this is the cost that I have to pay to the tutors for all the sessions that were completed, and so on. I can see that in the list view. I can see that in these cards. I can apply whatever filters I want to apply here. So this can be really useful, especially for SMBs and enterprises who just want to keep a track of everything in one place without having to go through, comprehensive spreadsheets themselves. Although if you do like spreadsheets, you can still use the download button, download the Excel sheet, and then do whatever you'd want with that particular data that's coming in. The other thing that I would really like to share about this particular stage of the lead is the tutor substitution feature. And again, very important for SMBs and enterprises. So the way tutor substitution works is, let's say you have a tutor who is sick, or maybe they just had an emergency and they cannot make it to a session, and you need another tutor to cover for that session. So all you have to do is go to the session here, mark the session as available. And what this will do is, if I mark this session as available right there, this session is going to show up for every single tutor that's there on your platform, so that they can also take up those sessions. So if I go to tutor substitution here, I think this is scheduled with Minerva. So if I go to tutor, actually this is in the past. If I schedule a future session, then what would essentially happen is, within the tutor substitution, I would see that session in this list, and I would be able to pick that session up as a substitution for that particular tutor. And that will go through an admin, so that the admin can either approve or decline that substitution. So that's how Evallo can help you out, with that part of the operations. So now the sessions are scheduled; they're happening on a regular basis, and the student is doing well. You're keeping track of everything in one place. What's next? Well, you want to make sure that the student has the right curriculum that's fitting their particular requirements, right? You want to make sure that the student has work that you can track, and work that automatically grades itself, because otherwise you're going to be spending hours in manually grading that work. Of course, certain types of work you have to grade manually, so I'm not talking about that. But there are certain things that you can automate. For example, practice tests that have MCQs, or practice tests that have single text responses that are there. So you would want to make sure that your system, whatever product you're choosing, allows you to handle your curriculum carefully and allows you to track the student progress over a period of time, and that you're able to set the goals for the students over a period of time as well. Most importantly, all of this should be transparent so that the families are also, in the loop with what's going on with their student sessions. That will build trust with the families, and that will also ensure that you're not receiving a lot of the emails asking for updates. So that will save you some time there as well. So as an individual or a freelancer, what are certain considerations that you don't have in mind when you're choosing a product for this? Well, first of all, what kind of services you're providing? That's the most important thing, right? If you're specializing in a particular type of service, then you want to choose a product that has really high quality content for that particular service, whether it's homework or whether it's just review material. You want to make sure that the platform that you're choosing has been vetted. Even for Evallo, right? I would say this for Evallo as well. Do not go ahead with Evallo if you do not know the content that's there on our platform, right? Vet the tests that you're seeing, vet the material that you're seeing, right? Make sure that you are comfortable with the quality of the material, because there are a lot of platforms out there that use AI generated content, for example, which is not that great in quality, right? So that's the first requirement. You want to make sure that the platform is compatible with the type of tests that you want to assign to the students. For example, with Evallo, we primarily specialize in SAT and ACT for our content, but we do not have a lot of material for certain other exams like NEET or GSE or SSHT and so on. So I would not recommend Evallo for certain exams outside of the SAT and ACT if you're specializing in that. But if you are an SAT and ACT tutor, then Evallo should be one of your considerations. So the type of content that you specialize in becomes the biggest filter for this stage of the customer journey. But then apart from that, there are certain other things that you should ask when you're choosing the product. Like the product, does it involve goal tracking? Does it have a baseline score that I can add so I can see the progression that the student has over a period of time? Are there notes that I can add after each session that aligns with the homework that I'm assigning on the platform? Is there assignment tracking? Can I share those with the parents? Are there parent summaries that I can send out about those about that progress that's happening? For larger enterprises who want to standardize their systems, a content library becomes a lot more important. Like, are there standardized material across a wide variety of services, across a wide variety of content that I can tell all of my tutors to get trained upon, right? Are there standardized diagnostic tests that I can send out to students, right? So that we have a certain policy and we have a certain procedure that everybody can follow, right? Can I track cohorts? Because some of these enterprise businesses can partner up with schools or IECs, and they're getting batches of students, and they want to track the entire cohort's performance, because that's how they're building relationships, right? That's how they're ensuring that the quality remains consistent for a particular cohort. You want to make sure that you have performance dashboards that you're able to look at, so that you can see how overall your business is doing in terms of academic instruction, right? So how does Evallo help with all of that? Well, let's see. So on Evallo, we have a third product apart from calendar invoicing, which is called PrepWork. And with PrepWork, you are able to assign practice tests to multiple students at once via groups, or just select them one by one via the student drop down here. So I'm just going to assign a practice test to Harry, and I'm going to use one of the practice tests that we have curated on Evallo itself. So this is one of our materials, and I'm going to set the due date to next week, right? If I want to add some instructions like skip the math section, for example, I can just do that as well. I can set the time limit, and I'm just going to click on assign. So really easy. Either as a tutor or as an admin, you have access to this interface. And now that this test is assigned to Harry, I'm just going to log into Harry's account. This is Harry's account right there. And now I'm going to go to PrepWork. I can see that I have this test assigned to me. I'm going to click on Start. And this is one of the SAT tests that we have in Evallo. So the interface that you're going to see is SAT oriented. But the plan for us is to add more and more content to our libraries. If you are interested, you can always reach out to me and ask about this material that's available on the platform. But let's say now Harry wants to take the test. This is where he can see the instructions, some of the other details about the test, and let's start section. And now Harry is able to actually take that test on the platform, right? I'm not going to finish out all the questions here, but I'm going to mark this as completed right there. And now that I'm done with this particular section, the section is logged. I can attend the next one and so on. From the admin's perspective, coming back to Albus's account right here, we can go in and we can actually see the score report. So I think I had one of the score reports earlier, or let me just reload this page. You can see the score report for the section that we just attended. There you go. So this is where, and again, ignore the data here because we just attempted a random test. But this is where you can see the correct answer, the student's response, the concept and the strategy. This is essentially the skill and domain side of things for the SAT. The time that the student took for those questions. In case they mark those questions for review, you would be able to see those here as well. The overall time that the student took for that section. When did they start? When did they finish? And what's their accuracy for the different concepts that are there. And in case you want to review the material with them, you can see that here as well. So that's essentially the interface. And again, we primarily specialize in the SAT and the ACT. So in case you're interested in that material, I think Evallo could be a good fit. But otherwise, if you're looking for other materials, I think there are a lot of platforms out there that you can reach out to. But this is something that I think you want to be really careful about, because this can affect the student's trajectory for improvement significantly, depending upon the kind of content that you're adding, that you're assigning to the students. So yeah, also in case you're creating your own material, if you have your own tests, then you can add those to Evallo as well, and then you can start assigning those to the students. So there is a interface on Evallo where you can create your own material and start assigning that as the homework. But if you're interested, you can reach out to me for that. So now the student is set up, they're doing well, you're meeting with them on a regular basis. You have the platform to set up the sessions, you have the platform to set up their lead statuses, their profiles, and let's say you also have a way to assign them the homework and keep track of that homework and also grade it automatically. Well, what's the next thing? Now you want to charge the parents for the service you're providing, right? You want to get paid for all the awesome work that you're doing. This is a very tricky, I would say, stage, because sometimes, especially for individuals and freelancers, this can get a bit awkward in certain times. If the parents are a little late for the payments, if they're not comfortable with certain rates, if they're not happy with one of the sessions, then the conversations can get a bit tricky. So you want to have a platform that can get you away from that experience where you don't have to manually deal with a parent. Everything happens automatically. And if a parent has to interact with something, they would interact with a system first or with a platform first. And then later on, once you have the details within the platform, like, oh, maybe the parent is not happy with something, you see the notes that they've added, and then you're prepared to have that conversation, right? So the first thing is you want to have a platform that can, give parents a first interaction without having you to go through that, right? So for individuals, especially, certain things become really important, like the payment links. You want to be able to share payment links with parents after the sessions are done, either manually or automatically. You want to have invoice templates so that you're not sitting there at 1 a.m. in the morning trying to draft all of those invoices one by one through Microsoft Word or some other tool. You want to make sure that your policies are very clear. If you have a 24 hours cancellation policy and you want to implement that, you want to make sure that you're able to do that. Or if you want to be flexible about it, then you want to be able to do that through a platform that you're using for all of these purposes, right? As you start growing your team, maybe you're offering multiple types of packages. So for each family, you want to have certain default settings that you're adding. Maybe you're offering incentives to families, so maybe you want to have a credit system. You're having hundreds of sessions every week, so you want to have some sort of an automation, right, that generates all of those invoices by itself. You want to make sure that you have payment reminders that are set up so that you're not chasing parents for those payments. And you definitely want to have portal visibility, because parents want to see how those sessions and when those sessions happen. So there's the transparency that you really require. Of course, as you're growing further, analytics become a lot more important, right? You want to make sure that your revenue is being reported in a certain manner that gives you insights on how to grow it further, how to structure your business further. You want to make sure that you have certain financial controls because you have a bigger team now. Maybe certain people don't need access to certain parts of the platform, right? That can become really important for you when you're taking this decision. You want to make sure that your accounting software syncs with your payroll software and with your invoicing software. Maybe you have multiple locations and you want to have multi-location billing, and different people with different locations need to have different controls. So certain other factors will become more important for you. Again, as you go through this presentation after the webinar is done, you can dive deeper into the details about what kind of questions you should be asking yourself at all of the different stages, for this particular customer journey. How does Evallo help out with all of this? Well, we have a very in sync system between the calendar, where you're scheduling all of your events and your sessions, and the invoicing. Now, one good thing about invoicing is that it's controlled at the family level. So if you have families who are requiring multiple types of billing cycles, like maybe a family is interested in being billed at the end of the month, another family is comfortable with paying you after every session, and maybe there's another family who just wants to pay you upfront for a package for the next 6 months, and maybe they're getting a 20% discount because of that. So depending upon the family, if you want to have that flexibility, Evallo would allow you to do that, so that each family has their own billing cycle. But in case you have a standardized policy that, we just have one single type of billing plan, no matter what you are, no matter what type of family you are, you can just standardize that billing plan for your entire account. And all of the new families that are coming in will be set to that particular cycle. So what do the invoices actually look like on Evallo? Well, let's take a look, right? So if I want to have a package invoice, first of all, I'm going to click on new invoice. I can select a tutoring package, select the family, select a student, and then select the tutors that are working with that particular student for whichever services they're working with, and add the hours, add the rate. And if I have another service, I can add that as well. Or maybe I have another tutor providing another service within the same package, so I can add that here as well, right? So once you add all of these details, the package will automatically create an invoice that will have all of those details that you've added. You can set a due date. In case the family already has a card attached, you will see a charge button so that you don't have to ask the family about it. If the family's card is saved on the platform, you can just charge them immediately for those packages. And you can add discounts, you can add additional charges, you can also add taxes to this. And in case, sometimes there are families with divorced parents, maybe you want to split that payment into two different parts, one payment being made by one person, another through another person, you can split those payments accordingly. Once the invoice is generated, let me show you how that actually looks. So this is one of the sample invoices. Here you can see it's entirely white labeled with your business name, your business address, your email, the support email, shows the parent details, student details, the service that you're charging the invoice for, final amount, the status, and the method through which they made the payment. Becomes extremely standardized. Once you send out the invoice to the families, they can see this PDF and they know exactly what they're paying for. There are tons of other things that you can do with Evallo. Like, for example, if you want to add credits, you can do that for different families. If you want to just see how your business is doing overall, this is where the analytics comes into the place. A few things that I really like about the analytics page here is you can see which tutors are performing the best, which services are performing the best over a period of time, which referral codes are you using. This is actually really unique because if you go to your users page here, you can actually create referral codes, and you can keep track of which families are bringing you the most number of referrals, and then how much is that converting into actual revenue, right? So those comparisons can become extremely important if you're an SMB who's looking to grow the business to a certain scale. So that way this can be important. So anyway, that's how invoicing works on Evallo, and that's how you can integrate that for this particular part of the customer journey. Note that if this part is sorted for you and maybe you're looking for a payroll platform, then Evallo might not be a good fit because Evallo does not offer you payroll, at least for now. So maybe you want to look for a platform that actually provides with that particular part, right? Evallo does integrate with QuickBooks, but it doesn't integrate with other accounting platforms. We do use Stripe as well. In fact, we use Stripe for all the payments. So if you are using another accounting platform, that you really want to integrate with your tutoring platform, then again, Evallo might not be the best, but you might want to look for something else that actually fits with your existing system. But if you're looking for like a one-stop shop where you can handle all of those other bits of the invoicing in one place, then Evallo actually might be a good fit, because I think personally, I feel like we have a lot of really unique features that other platforms don't provide. But again, that really depends upon what your requirements are. And this is the slide where you can actually see what those requirements might be. Finally, the last stage, which is the retention. Now, you have done the hard work, you have worked with the families, you've provided an amazing service to them. Now you want to retain them, right? You want to make sure that they come back to you for whatever next part of their journey is, right? And you want them to definitely talk about you to their friends, to their families. You want them to share their scores on social media. So you want to have a platform that can actually help you keep track of all of that. So I just shared about the referral codes in Evallo. There are certain other things that you can do which are offered by other platforms. Like a platform that I personally really like to use is a social media management platform that actually allows you to post about your social media updates. You can post multiple videos and posts through a lot of different channels in one go, in one click. Maybe you have a mass emailer that you want to use to send out for referrals, and that integrates with your lead statuses. So as soon as the family is finished with their curriculum, you automatically send out a feedback form or a survey for them to fill out. You might want to have a progress recap of some sorts that is being sent out to families. So the questions that you want to ask about this post completion stage of the customer journey can vary depending upon what your goals are with the customers, right? If you're generating a lot of leads, not via referrals, but via, let's say, performance marketing, via advertisements, then the tools become a lot more different, because now you have tracking tools that are there on your social media, tracking tools that are there on the content that you're generating. But if your primary lead source is actually families who are coming in through referrals, then you want to have a tracking system that can track that for you. Okay? In case you're primarily generating business through B2B partnerships, like IECs or schools that you've partnered up with, or maybe just cross referrals between the other tutors in your network, in that case, that referral tracking becomes a lot more important. So depending upon the source of the lead, that's one thing that you really want to analyze. And then depending upon that, you want to have a platform that can really standardize the follow-up depending upon that source of where the lead is coming in. Right? So that becomes really important for your consideration of the right technical stack that you're building out for this stage of the customer journey. So just to summarize, what we have built today for the technical stack is, first, depending upon the team size, your considerations can vary a lot. For freelancers, you want to have simple systems. Ideally, a lot of freelancers can actually use free platforms that are out there that work very well with each other. With Evallo also, we actually offer a free Explorer plan that you can use. But also there are a lot of like low-cost platforms out there that can help you with a lot of this stuff. But the goal should be that, can I reduce my personal mental load and build a simple system that can automate most of the stuff that I'm doing. For the SMBs, maybe a lot of that stuff is already automated, but it's not managed very well. So you want to have shared workflows so that your team is staying consistent at the different stages of where that lead is in their customer journey. And then for enterprises, certain other things become more important, such as tracking, analytics, structured systems with rules and regulations, and more control over what's happening. So accordingly, you can build a technical stack that's the right fit for you. In order to audit your own stack, I think these 6 questions should definitely go in. If you don't want to go through all of these detailed considerations, I would definitely recommend going through these 6 questions. Where does a new inquiry go? Where does the family information live within your system? How are your sessions currently scheduled? How do tutors know what to do, either during the session or after the session? How is the progress recorded? And is that shared with the parents? Is there the transparency with that progress? And finally, how are my payments managed in one place? If your response to most of these questions is that it depends on my memory, or it depends upon manual tracking of the messages or emails, or I have to manually follow up for some of these things, then I think those parts of your technical stack needs attention. If if your response to these questions is that it's handled by some sort of an automation, then I think you're set, and you're saving a number of hours that you'd otherwise be spending in a lot of this backend work. So time for some questions. If you have any questions, please add them to the chat right here. I see we already have a few. Let's see. Do you have AI tutors? We don't. We are actually an ops management platform. We don't actually have tutors or AI chatbots that are providing that tutoring service. We are entirely B2B, so we only partner up with businesses or private individuals, but we do not directly provide any services to students or parents. So hopefully that answers your question. Do you offer charges via tutoring credits rather than dollar amounts? Yes, we do. We have two types of credits that you can add to families. First is a currency credit, so you can give $100 or £100 off for the family for the next invoice. Or you also have hourly credit, so you can select a service, and then you can select a number of hours that you want to give for free the next time they schedule sessions for that service. So that will become rate agnostic and also tutor agnostic. So the next time the parent has that service being paid for, it will deduct those hours from the invoice. Next question is, do you offer payment invoicing to tutors rather than just to families? So that essentially refers to the payroll management system, which we currently don't provide. In our product pipeline, right now we are looking at next year somewhere around Feb to March timeline, so the first quarter of the year, for a payroll system to be ready on Evallo. But at least at the moment, we do not offer payroll services. We only have invoicing services on the platform. So if that's something that's important to you, then you might want to look for platforms that can integrate with that bit. Although with Evallo, we do offer a way to record the amount that you're paying to the tutors. So for example, if I go to the calendar here, and here at the bottom, you'll see the invoicing and payroll section, which is where you can add the pay rate for the tutor, that you're adding for this particular session. So if I select the student, you can actually see the billing rate as well. So the billing rate is referring to the families, the rate that you're charging the family, and the pay rate is what you're paying to the tutor. And then when you go to the analytics, this will actually give you the information about how much you want to pay to a particular tutor. For example, if I select Albus for this month, I need to pay Albus $420 for the sessions that they've had on the calendar. So that's how we can keep track of that. Next question is, can you add custom fields that are saved in notes view over time? Notes on that student that aren't sent to families and stay populated for you? Yes, you can. This can happen either on a session basis or on a profile basis. For example, if I go to the calendar home here, I can add internal notes right there, which are only seen by the admins and the tutors. They are not for the reference to the families. And in fact, if you're also sharing the notes, but maybe there are certain notes that you don't want to share with everyone, you can just select in the drop-down who you want to share those notes with. So if I select, let's say, 3 different students here, but I only want to share notes with Neville, so I can just select Neville here and I can add those notes. So you can control where those notes are going after that session. And the other place where you can record those notes is directly within the student profile. So for example, if I go to Harry, Harry's profile right there, at the bottom, you'd see notes section where I can just add the notes that I want and then save those. So those notes will be saved in Harry's profile. So hopefully that answers your question. Let's see. Students only get 1 free pass. Can we give a checkbox that appears when filling out notes to mark whether or not they've used it previously? Matt, I'm sorry, I don't think I understand that question completely or that use case completely. So if you can elaborate on that, that would be helpful. Can we list when their official exams are going to be so we can make sure the program is on track? There isn't a direct way to do that, at least at the moment. We are building an interface that can do that. But what you can also do is you can add, a date right here. Let's say that their exam is happening, sometime in June, right? So you can just select that date, and then you can add certain values for your reference, right? So that you know that, okay, this is an exam that they're yet to take. But this is sort of like a workaround. We don't have a direct interface for future tests. This interface is primarily designed for past exams that they've taken. So yeah, and thank you so much, man. Appreciate that. Why is it called Evallo.ai? AI is highly suspect in the tutoring. The reason is we are actually, I get that question, and I know the reputation that AI has in the industry, but I want to clarify one thing here. There is AI that's designed for students, and there's AI that's designed for tutors. My personal belief, now I'm in support of AI. I like AI. I use AI very regularly in my regular workflows, but I am not comfortable with the way students are using AI. So when we started building out Evallo, the vision was, can you build an automated system that can act like a personal assistant to the tutors that we are working with? Because that was my personal intention with 7 Square Learning, right? When I was building out 7 Square Learning, I did not want to continuously, do a back and forth with my team about certain things, and I wanted AI to handle that. So that was the vision we started off with. We are, in fact, in the process of releasing an AI chatbot where you can avoid all of this manual work. Like right now, what I'm doing here is I'm going through the calendar. I'm clicking on this calendar here. I'm scheduling all those details right there. What if you could just text that on WhatsApp, to an AI chatbot that, hey, I need to cancel my session tomorrow with Harry. Can you do that? And the chatbot just does that. You don't have to log into the interface. You don't have to, do anything with the platform. You could just do that over a chatbot that you're already comfortable using with in an interface that you're already comfortable. So that's kind of what the vision is, that we want to automate the operational side of things, and we want to use AI more as an assistant. At least at the moment, I can promise you that we are not interested in expanding to the student side of things. We are not interested in building AI chatbots that can give instruction, that can help out with student homework, that can give them advice about their causes. I personally don't believe that AI is ready for that. And also it's dangerous, because if it gives something incorrect, there's nothing that can hold them accountable. I'm not going to sue ChatGPT, right? If my student, does something wrong because of some advice. But I can definitely complain to the tutor that, hey, you know what, I think my student, wants something else. And the human can actually work with the kid on that feedback. So personally, that's kind of where Evallo is going, which is why Evallo.ai essentially refers to the B2B side of things, the business operation side of things for the AI. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate the comment. And Matt, you've asked, and those notes will stay permanently on that view moving ahead. Yes, the notes will stay permanently, both on the calendar event that you've added, as well as on the profile that you've added. And you are always allowed to edit that even after the session is completed. So in case you want to change those notes afterwards, you can definitely do that. One thing that I used to do with my students a lot is, after the session was completed, I used Fathom AI as my note taker. And one thing I really liked about Fathom was, one, it was free. And second, the meeting notes it generated allowed really crisp summaries. So I would just go ahead and copy those summaries, and I would add those in the shared notes right here. And those would be shared with the families immediately after I marked the session was completed. And that really helped my workflow, because then I don't have to do that bit anymore. So that's one of the ways that you can use it. So hopefully that addresses all of the questions. If you have any other follow-up questions, please type that in the chat, and I would be happy to answer those. Or if you have any feedback about the webinar, or if you, oh, by the way, I forgot to share one thing. We are offering a 1-year free, subscription to Evallo for team sizes that are 10 or lower. And if you have a bigger team size, you can definitely reach out to us about this program as well. We would be happy to consider you for this as well. But if you are interested, this is the page. I'll share the links with you post the webinar, and you can also just go to the presentation and see the links there as well. but this is the page where the details about that program is listed. All you have to do is click on submit your application and then fill out this Google form, which is essentially the form for Evallo for startups. We will review your responses, and if your business qualifies for the program, then we would be happy to share a coupon code that you can use to utilize Evallo for 1 year. All products included, both calendar invoicing along with PrepWork. So I would highly encourage you to apply for that program in case Evallo is one of the products that you would like to consider for your workplace. So yeah. Happy to answer any other questions. Otherwise, we can end this workshop right here. I would also be sharing the certificates. So if you want a certificate for this workshop, please send out an email to me, and we can send out a PDF copy of that certificate to you. All right, looks like we don't have any other questions. So thank you so much, everyone. Once again, really appreciate the time that you've given to this. And yeah, take care. Have a good day and rest of the week. Take care.